Tyson, Total Relationship Podcast, day one.
Day one. I've been waiting for years. It's finally here. We're ready to go.
I'm so excited to get this started with you. I think it's really important for everyone tuning in to kind of understand a little bit about the trend that was created for the or the trend you saw and wanted to create the total relationship. But why don't you tell everybody about yourself a little bit? Who are you?
Who am I? Well, we might have to create a podcast just for who am I, but who am I? I am someone that served myself for way too long and then realized the point of life is to help take care of others, and that gives you the greatest satisfaction. So in the order of that, I'm a believer, I'm a husband, I'm a father. I have been a financial advisor for some 25 years. Apparently now I'm a co-host of this Total Relationship podcast with you. Very exciting. I've been in the financial industry, for that 25 years. I've been doing it myself for longer than that, which we'll talk about. I also am the CEO and co-founder of Form Wealth Advisors, which for 25 years has basically been doing the total relationship. And then we realized, wait a second, there's a message here that we think people need to hear. Both the financial advisors that are doing the business and then the clients that are needing this.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole purpose in life is to try and make life better for my clients and those in our community. And then you came along and helped kind of bring all this out of me and get it into a book and now a podcast. So who are you, Miss Kim Cochenour?
I am delighted to be here. I've been working alongside you for about 5 years now. But prior to coming to the Form Wealth team, I had the privilege of working in the healthcare and nonprofit space. I did a lot of work with gathering people, creating structure and process in fields that I thought had no resemblance to a career in the wealth space. And so I just think that's made a huge difference actually in what I've been able to do here. Now I am the COO of Form Wealth Advisors, and it is a great honor and privilege to work with the team here and help serve our clients. On a very personal, fun note, I have a husband and 3 young ladies that I just adore and love being the mom and wife to. And I really love the mission of what happens at Forum Wealth because, from an outsider's perspective, I was a little hesitant to actually come and work here, but I knew enough people who knew you and Luke. And I felt like, well, they can't be like what you see in movies because I trusted the people that said they're worth talking to. And so I was actually really grateful to come here and really experience the difference in what happens at Form Wealth and how we take care of our clients and the community compared to what I thought it would be like, which is why I've actually stayed and really love being here and love help serving the team and working alongside you.
And that's what makes this unique, right? This whole total relationship was Luke, the other co-founder of Form Wealth Advisors, and I realizing as you had different skills and gifts from outside the industry, you helped us realize where the value adds really lie and what we were really doing that's different than most financial advisors. And then because of that skill set, we had the financial industry experience, and you got to bring this client outside the financial industry experience and help us kind of hone in on what really matters. And you left yourself short because I know you got the 3 girls, but you have to add that the last 2 are twins because that
Yep.
puts you in a whole nother paradigm. Like that's its own world, and people need to know that's part of this, right? It's like you have 3 little ones and 2 came at once.
Yes, they sure did.
Wow.
The biggest surprise of our life. Yeah, I think because it's just my normal, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But you're right, Tyson, anytime I talk about my family and they realize I have twins, let alone twin daughters, and knowing I have all 3 girls, people just look at it in a whole different thing and a whole different light. And to be honest, my parents had the same thing. They raised 3 girls, not twins, but they made it and they're fine. So I believe in Tim and I's ability to make it through all of that. So, Tyson, I think what I have found so compelling in getting to know you and your story is that your life did not come from wealth. You didn't come from a place of having means to accomplish things that you want in your life. You had to work really hard to get there. And I think that's a really important thing I think you need to share with the listeners.
Yeah, there's so many different versions of that story. Some of them are in the book, and some of them we'll touch on in these podcasts. The short version is I had the mom left dad story. Dad left, with four kids. I had three sisters and myself, and an eviction notice on the fridge shortly thereafter. And I kind of realized really quickly that if I wanted the little shirt that had the little horse on it in high school to kind of be popular, I needed to basically find money myself. And I lied on my first work application and said I was older than I was so I could start bussing tables. I rode my little bike down a mile or two to the restaurant. And that meant on Friday night was all you could eat fish fry. And it wasn't so much the bussing tables in the beginning as much as I got to eat as much fish as I wanted. And then Saturday was all you could eat peeled shrimp. And I mean, I felt like a king. And on top of it, like made $100 a weekend, which went a long way towards allowing me to try and fit in.
Mm.
But those jobs led me down different paths. Kind of grew up in an area here in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, that was, I liked to say at the time, it was kind of the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots serviced the haves, and I was in the have-not category. And one day in particular, I got asked to jump on this Mastercraft ski boat. These things are cost like 100 or
Those are
hundreds of thousands of dollars
beautiful.
now. Back then, they
Yeah.
weren't quite as expensive, but still, it was like, hello. And they needed a spotter, aka someone to watch somebody fall. And they
Yep.
said, "Hey kid, can you spot?" And I was just like, riding a Mastercraft. I'm like, yes, I can spot.
Why not?
Yeah. And then it got late, and because they skied till dusk and they let me ski and it was fun. And anyway,
Mm.
they realized, like, wait a second, I was going to walk home. They're like, here, I'll give you a ride. And this is like back to stranger danger. Like, you shouldn't have someone drop your kid off. And at the same time, the guy had a Ferrari, and I was just like, I get to ride in a Ferrari. I'm like, yeah,
I'll
you
get in
drive
his
home.
car.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, there's a whole, you could do a podcast on parenting that I didn't have, but that's another story. The bottom line is on the way home, I then lied at what house I lived in because I was embarrassed.
Mm.
But as I was being dropped off in the driveway that wasn't mine, of the house that wasn't mine, in the Ferrari that wasn't mine, sitting next to somebody that was somebody obviously successful in the form of having things that were expensive,
Yeah.
I just said, "Can I ask a question?" He's like, yeah. I said, how did you make your money? And he went on to say what his business was that he owned and some of the patents and inventions he came up with. But he's like, I really made most of my money in the stock market. And I was like, okay,
There it is.
that, yeah. And that's like, I was like 14 or 15. And then when I was like 16 years old in the high schools, they played the stock market game.
Hmm.
And this is back in the day when you actually had the paper that you opened up and looked at the symbols in the paper, and that's how you got all your data of the stocks, right? And they were all symbols. You really know what they mean. You have to go to the library and look up in an index or an encyclopedia or whatever what the symbol meant. And played the stock market game, didn't win, but got hooked on one of these like stocks that got hammered. And the idea was that these should bounce back. And it was a symbol that had gone from 12 to 7. And I wanted to take, I'm like, 7. I'm like, I have $700 saved up in my chubby chipmunk bank account. And I could take some of that and I could invest in the stock.
Hmm.
The problem was I was a minor. And so I needed my mom's approval, which was just earth
What
shattering.
every
Like, what? It's
16-year-old
my
old boy
money.
wants to hear. I need my
Yeah, like,
mom's
no.
approval. Yeah.
So I drag her into this broker's office to try and convince her to let me buy the stock, which she wouldn't. And the broker convinced her it was okay that I started investing $100 a month into 2 mutual funds, which is what I did. And then I graduated high school, turned 18, and I got to go buy my first 2 stocks, which I did. And the rest kind of became history. And basically, after graduating college and getting my head straight and my life focused on other people, which is another story in and of itself. Um, when I was trying to graduate and figure out what I want to do for a career, I was led to realize, wait, I've been trying to convince my mom and anybody that would listen from the time I was 16 that, and since I learned the lesson from Mr. Ferrari Man with the Mastercraft, that he made all his money in the stock market, and that's like accessible to anybody. Like, anybody could do this.
Hmm.
And I had been trying to convince people to do that. And so it naturally led me into the financial services industry because I had been investing since the time I was 16. So it was 6 or 7 years by the time I graduated and got into the career or profession of financial services,
Yeah.
is how I got started in this.
Yeah. Well, and I think your story carried a lot of weight with me. While my story was not like yours growing up, um, I still could relate to that because I had friends who had been through similar situations. And it's not that far off to see families struggle in America. But as you've pointed out, a lot of people have the opportunity to participate in investments. And but the thing that I think stands out the most is that and the total relationship process really centers around giving people permission to live their life and use the money that they've worked hard to save and steward. And giving our clients permission, I think an advisor's deepest deepest source of satisfaction is giving their clients permission. And I think that's actually something I've resonated the most with as I've worked here with you and just seeing that truly live out in client stories and seeing that happen coming in and out of our doors. And when you talk to other advisors, they resonate with that too. They talk about the joy of that. And there's a few of them who understand it to the level that you do. But I think the biggest push we get to have with this platform of talking about the total relationship and showing other advisors what this relationship can do for them, I think giving their clients permission to live their life is probably one of the most satisfying things. Um,
Yes,
and
but again, it didn't start that way. And I think most
mm-mm,
advisors, when they read Total Relationship or they hear these podcasts, their head starts bobbing up and down, like it
mhm.
naturally connects with them. Like it's a blind spot, I think, that most of them don't realize where they're adding value and are being told or feel that they have to keep showing this value in pie charts or past performance, or they're better than the other advisor because of how they're doing the investments. And they like the if you're out there and you're a financial advisor and you're listening to this and you just struggle because you're reaching a point where it just feels like there's something more and you can't put your finger on. I mean, your clients are your friends, your clients are your family. You trust them. There's relationships built there, but you just feel this disconnect between the annual review, the interaction with the client, and the value bring and how you differentiate yourself. And it was from Kim coming on, and it was from just talking to other advisors about what we do every day that we take for granted, that we started realizing, wait a second, there's so much there. It's like blocking and tackling in football. It's so obvious, and yet it's still being coached to the most best athletes, that this total relationship is totally obvious, but the actual techniques aren't being done or being missed that they could be done consistently. And you can bring out a value add that the industry isn't providing on a consistent basis, and the client is longing for.
Yeah. Well,
That
Tyson,
that's
you've said so many times that you get the licenses and you sit in the classes and you pass the exams and you make the regulars happy because you need to be licensed because there's plenty of people who need those regulations to keep them in check. But the total relationship approach, talking about the care, the wealth planning, all of those pieces for clients are not taught. And so you saw a need, you saw a gap in education for the industry.
Yeah, the total relationship, the book and this podcast is basically going to be the application of how you put a client's interest first, which the industry is trying to regulate. I think in some regards, every advisor wants to do,
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily know how to go about doing it. Um, and it's just, again, I've gleaned it from others. I've heard it from clients. I've had the privilege of coming into this career, being an apprentice as a junior advisor to an advisor who was a stockbroker for 20 years, which we'll be talking about in these podcasts. He retired. I took over that practice. I built my own team. I was a branch manager over 6 or 7 other financial advisor teams. That got all blown up in the financial crisis with mergers and acquisitions. And I finally went off kind of on my own and built my own team. In the process, acquired 6 other practices, and in doing so, got an in-depth knowledge of being the apprentice for 5 years underneath a senior advisor of what worked and what didn't work, and then got to see these other advisors that I managed in the brokerage industry that I was in, and got to see what they did and didn't do, right or wrong. And
Mhm.
then when I went off on my own and we acquired these 6 other practices, I really got to see it, in depth, because you're taking it over effectively. And in all of that, have gleaned what we now call the total relationship, and a way of going about this practice that connects with what the client's needs and wants and hopes are, connects with how do we make their lives better, meets the industry regulations and standards, and it makes it so much fun to do. that it doesn't,
Mhm.
and it's all about people, and it's all about listening, and it's about the questions to ask that the clients need to answer. The answers are in them. It's how we get it out of them. And I think too many advisors are still just doing too much telling and talking and presenting, trying to justify their value add in a pie chart or a portfolio instead of who the person is in front of them.
Mhm. Well, and I was at a conference recently, and one of the speakers from stage said something that made me. I actually sent you a message after this happened. I was so proud of what this team does because this expert in the industry was talking. If you are not providing value to help make your client's life better, they will go find an advisor who does. Because people, I think that the generations that are coming up have a different expectation of what their advisor should be doing for them because they can turn to the internet and let the internet help them make investment choices. But often we're looking for someone to give us the permission or someone to help guide us through those decisions on how do we help fund our kids' college? How do we help or do we help take care of our parents? Where do we get to make the investments for our family's future? They want someone to help have that conversation with them. They're not looking for someone to find performance reports because you can Google those anymore. You need someone who can have a better relationship with you.
See, the problem, gosh, it drives me nuts. The problem is that you are so right in what you said, but every advisor that heard that's like, yeah, I do that. That's called financial planning. I put that
No,
in the
it's not
plan for the
though.
next 30 years. What they're missing is they're missing keeping track of the kid graduated. Now we need the $50,000 for the tuition. Where's that coming from? What the
Mhm.
total relationship really does is it takes the financial planning of projections for the rest of your life and your hopes and your dreams and the college and the wedding and all the other stuff you just rattled off. And it takes your resources today, and it's where the rubber meets the road and the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 months, a year. And where exactly is that money coming from? How is that being funded? And how are you affirming the client moving forward, executing on these things so they actually do them
Mhm.
is part of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But before I get way too excited and we get off track, so I'm gonna hit we got to hit the pause button. People are sitting here; it's the first episode, and they're going, "Why am I listening to this? And what's kind of coming? What is this total relationship?" So let's try and reset. First episode, very exciting. What what do we want to talk? So I guess maybe it's why the total relationship. Like, where do you want to take this, Kim? Like, you got to lead this. Where are we going?
I actually think it'll be helpful for people to understand what success means for the total relationship. This is why they're tuning in. What are they going to get from here, from this podcast, that they're not going to get from pie charts from the internet? What is success in applying the total relationship to their relationships and their business?
So they're going to get what we're hearing back from people that are being exposed to this information, both advisors and clients. First and foremost, they're going to get real life stories of how we learned this. Where did it come from? Like, what was the experience? And like, it strains me. We are not going to, on this first episode, like, pull out the stories of this client, and that's going to allow people to do a couple things. One, learn how to relate to somebody else that's in that situation,
Mhm.
both an advisor and or a client, because we all have other relationships and different people are at different stages that'll have different interactions. So we'll gain wisdom of
Mhm.
these life experiences together. We're going to learn together. I think we're in the process of that. There's going to be things we want to do and things we don't want to do, mistakes that people have made that we can learn the lessons of by not stepping in that pothole. I think there's going to be best practices. There's going to be camaraderie. I think there's going to be resources out there for people to kind of connect in. But the success of all of this, the success of all this is to try and empower both the advisor and the client to realize what impact they get to have in their lives with what they have, and where are the trappings and where are the shortcomings. And my one of my greatest passions in life is to try and be prudent, which is to understand the future consequences of your present actions. And if we can empower people to make better decisions in the present, that they can have the better life into the future, they can look back and not regret it. That's what the success is. It's not selling books. It's not a number of listeners. It's just trying to put out information that we feel is wisdom in this information age where I think wisdom is getting lost or diluted. It's like, hey, wait, this is working and this is why. And then we're going to look forward to having people even share their stories or bring people on to share stories about how this total relationship is what life is all about when it comes to having a coach, an advocate, a teacher, an advisor, someone helping you live your life, and you learning how to help empower that person to help you live that life.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
and
I shouldn't get excited, but it's so exciting. Like,
if
this
you
is all
weren't
I want to do.
excited, this would be no fun to listen to or do with you. And that's part of the passion behind this is because you go to state, yeah, I've heard you speak many times. I've heard you on meetings with other advisors, and you're right. But they want it in their heart. And I always talk about my heart. You know that I have feelings for everyone and everything. And I think it's important that advisors maintain their heart focus when it comes to working with clients. And they're actually looking for that. They're looking to make that bigger impact if they're humble enough to know that they can do something more. I think one of the biggest core values that we have as a firm is the first one is wisdom. We're continuous learners. And if someone is on the fence about listening to any more episodes, if you want to learn, if you want to grow, if you want to provide value, you need to be wise and be a humble learner. And I think you do such a great job of bringing stories and experiences to the table and now to the airwaves of sharing that so people can learn. Because that's huge. I think people are hungry for that. I think advisors are hungry for that.
Yes, we just need to. The purpose of this is to try and let people listen and learn and make it easy to do so, and make it the opportunity for us to connect with you who's hearing this.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I got to be mindful of time, right? Because we could just talk for hours. I just want to do the whole episodes, all of them, like right now. But apparently, that's not how podcasts work. We have a beginning and an end, and maybe a summary, and then what's coming next. So,
And then
so
tune in
before I
next
get too
time.
far away, right? Where are we at for kind of a summary and moving forward?
Yeah. So, what I think people need to know, you're right. This podcast isn't about selling books. It's about creating a community of advisors who want to do more, that they want to truly develop the client advisor relationship and kind of bust out of the molds of what this industry has created. So, we've actually created this podcast to start grouping like minded advisors together. We have the ebook online for 99 cents. We have an audiobook, which is more of Tyson and I
Right.
talking
It's
through it.
not 99 cents because it's cheap. It's 99 cents because we're not trying to make a bunch of money on it. We're trying to make it
Correct.
easy for you to get it out there. Right. Oh,
Yes.
and what I think we need, like in the financial industry, you have all these disclosures.
We'll still
So
have some
here's
at
our
the end of this. Don't
disclosure.
worry.
This is our disclosure for the total relationship. What it's not is it's not the Tyson Ray show. It's not the Kim Cochenour show. Like I was laying on my foam roller, just like rubbing my head, going, "Oh my gosh, I got so much stuff I got to do today. I don't want to really do this." And then I stand up and I just kind of get started. And it's just so exciting that we just want to share it. That's
Mhm.
what it's about.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
No, it's
Disclosure
okay.
over. Kim, please
Yeah.
continue.
We want to have a community of advisors and clients even who are excited to deepen their relationships. And that's what this is built for, to bring people together. To your point, Tyson, the book is 99 cents, so it's a low threshold so people can get it and gift it and share simply with others because it's an important message to get out.
Yeah. Well,
And
the audio book's 99 cents. I think the book's a little more than that. The audio
yeah,
book, by the way, is not us reading the book, right?
no.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no one wants
It's
to
us
listen to
having
that.
that conversation about the book. Exciting. What else in
The
wrapping this
ebook.
up and move forward? Huh?
The ebook is what I'm saying is 99 cents. Those people
Got
who
it.
love a Kindle, they can just
Got
click
it.
through it and speed read. Those are my people.
Yes. All right. Ebook. Very good.
Yes.
That's the yes. Yes. Kim
Yes.
is here because it's not what I said, it's what I meant.
Yep. You're all welcome.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, really, we're going to be coming back in another episode and giving you more details. As Tyson said, we could jump in and share client stories, but we want to be mindful of everyone's time and create great content for you to consume and help apply to your practice and apply to your relationships. So, you can visit the website totalrelationship.com that has everything in there as our free resources, as well as links to buy the book. Or you can find us at the Total Relationship on LinkedIn, or you can find Tyson Ray or Kim Cochenour on LinkedIn as well. We'd be happy to connect with you there professionally as well.
So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of the total relationship. Come experience this with us, and together maybe we make lives better.